Hello, everyone. This is Kevin Kerner with Tech Marketing Rewired. Go to market isn't what it used to be. Channels are saturated, the buyers are guarded, and AI agents are starting to do the work humans used to handle. In this episode, I sat down with Santosh Sharan, founder of ZeerAI, to talk about how AI agents aren't just automating outreach, they're increasingly becoming the buyer's first move. It's a new model for discovery where agents collect, qualify, and surface the best options long before a human ever enters the chat. This is revolutionary stuff from my good friend Santosh. I hope you enjoy it. Let's get into it. This is Tech Marketing Rewired. Hey, welcome to Tech Marketing Rewired. I'm Kevin Kerner, your host, and today I'm joined by my good friend Santosh Sharan. I watched firsthand how he's really had a front row seat and led, but I don't know all the stuff: data, intent, platforms, all the go-to-market stuff. It's really evolved over the years, and more importantly, I think Santosh is at the forefront of how it's changing, especially with AI. He's held roles ranging from, I looked at your LinkedIn, saw you're at Digitas, I forgot about that, Lead Genius, RB2B, and we actually go way back to Aberdeen. We were at
That's
Aberdeen
right.
together.
Yeah,
And today
that's
he's
a
the
lot of
founder
fun.
of ZeerAI. So Santosh, I'm super happy to have you on the show. How you been?
Very good, and so thrilled to be here. I'll look forward to chatting with you, Kevin. It's
Yeah,
always
this is good stuff.
interesting.
Can you imagine if we had the capabilities that we have now when we were both at Aberdeen? The whole
Like
intent?
12, 15 years ago.
Yeah. I
uh,
just think I think we were a little ahead of our time back then.
we were, and in some way, the biggest change that has happened since then to now is that earlier playbooks were only accessible to savvy marketers, and now everybody has a playbook with a button, and
Yeah,
that's
it's true.
reactive marketing.
Can you imagine all the the rules-based machine stuff that we were doing? It's just crazy. And you didn't have any access to it. Now you can just go to
Right?
Claude and just make it happen. It's crazy. Well,
Yeah, totally.
so I went a little bit over your history. I wonder if you could take us through a quick intro, your journey of how you got from to where you are, and then just dig into a bit about what's happening from your perspective and go to market right now.
All right, let's
Let's
dive
do it.
in. So my career started off. I started off my career as a software engineer. That's what I studied in college. Um, and somewhere 7, 8 years into my career, I was part of a small startup that got acquired for a lot of money by Johnson and Johnson. It was a pharmaceutical startup. So that's when I got this bug of starting companies, and I did one, and then I really began to like go to market. I realized that more value can be created through go to market than through product development, and that led me uh, with Zoom Info, and then last 15, 20 years, increasingly I've been spending more and more time with sales marketing teams, sometimes operations, but primarily focused on go to market. And here's something radical I have to share. I think the last time I felt like this was 15 years ago. So if you break go to market into big generational sort of shifts, 15 years ago, I think you would hire a CMO for their gut feeling, for their or CRO for their Rolodex, right? Uh, People were more intuitive, more relationship based go to market, right? But then, like somewhere around 15 years ago, data and automation started to take over, where relationships didn't matter as much, right? Attribution mattered a lot than intuition, right? Now, it was all good in the beginning. Now, fast forward to today, I feel like everything's broken. Pipelines are down. The sales math doesn't work. All marketing channels suck. Nobody responds. There's almost dignity in sales and marketing that's got lost. Because imagine being a sales rep and doing 20 calls and everybody like screaming at the other end, don't want to talk to you. That's not how it used to be, right? And we got to fix that.
Yeah. Do you think it's I just told on the pre-call here, I was telling you about talking to Elaine at Tofu. Do you think it's generational to some degree? Like the part of the change is the technology that we now have has changed, but now the buyers, now B2B buyers are in a different generation to some degree. So it's like the tools have gotten to the point where they've matured and more accessible, but it's almost like the generation now sort of is maybe not used to the same tactics that we used to, or doesn't like the same tactics that used to work back in the day.
That's a good point. Although I feel like too much of good thing becomes a bad thing. So we
Yeah.
got greedy with data and automation, so greedy that we said, like it doesn't cost us anything. Let's just send 100,000 email when we could send 1,000, right? Because it doesn't cost much. Now think about a CMO of a company that just raised $50 million. So when we were at Aberdeen 15 years back, this CMO would have gotten say 2 or 3 email saying, "Hey, congratulations, and I think my product could help you scale, and let's talk." Right? But today, the CMO is getting 100 emails because it's become so easy and accessible that with one click, like every signal provider is providing funding signals, right? And every automation is integrated with funding signal outreach, and so that's such a lousy playbook now. Like, so then what the buyers are reacting well. This is what Gartner has been saying for like 10 years. Buyers don't want to talk to salespeople increasingly, right? And they are responding by being disengaged. They're just stepping away and doing their own research, and they want to come in when they have made their final decision to work with, say, two of the 20 vendors, right?
Yeah.
I think it's part of it is generational, but a lot of this is just buyers responding to democratize or accessible or low cost data and automation, and a lot of lazy automation, I should say. The smart automation still works.
Yeah. So the thesis is it's a lot of noise led, the collapse of channels because you've got so much uh spam or poor marketing going on. It's only going to get worse. It's just going to get
Right.
it's going to get bigger and bigger. What do you think the opportunity then is, or how do you react to that as a marketer now? Like,
Yeah. So
what's the
this is where I
opportunity?
think everybody has to think about new playbook,
Yeah,
because so when we were talking about ABM and signal based marketing, really we were doing noise based marketing, right?
yeah, yeah, right. And
People were just
even ABM now, Santos, if you think about it, it's like it's still pretty noisy because
totally
everyone has
noise.
the ABM
Yeah, and there's one
technologies,
other
right?
vector
Hmm.
that is fueling all this, just sitting in the back of the room, and that's
Hmm.
AI. What
Yeah.
AI is doing is lowering the cost of development, which means in a sector that only had say 50 vendors, there's going to be 100 in like next 12 months, or 150, because the cost of building tools are going to just go like near zero, right? So what that does is the buyer cost increases, because buyer has to search through like a few tools they could count on fingers. Now they can't. They're like 50 more, right? um, and then everybody begins to look the same. There's like no differentiation between tools. How do you differentiate through the noise? When you're 20, then it's hard to differentiate. Imagine if they're 200,
Yeah.
right? So this is where a new breed, a new age, and new generation of marketers have to emerge. And I feel like a lot of consumer marketing will start to, because consumer marketers are already used to dealing with this noise. So brand, for instance, is more important, right? Cutting through like narrative, radical differentiations, um, connecting with human emotions, all of that becomes more important. In fact, product differentiation will start to take more of a backseat than before. Uh, because all cost of product building will be same. Even if you're different, so what? Somebody can copy you in 2 weeks. So then there will always be parity.
Yeah, that's a super interesting concept. And because you're right. I mean, I can go into Base 44 and Replit right now, and I'm doing this right now, and it's a lot of fun. And I'm building
Right.
apps that have pretty good features. I'm not launching anything. I'm just doing it just to
Sure.
test it. But like, what is the cost of a feature now? It's like it's so easy. I'm not building anything that's production grade, but fast forward another 2 or 3 years, I might be able to build something that's really pretty
Right.
darn
Right.
good. And so I think you may be right. I think I think the big players obviously are seeing this, like Salesforce and others. They're seeing these micro apps, or what does Scott Brinker call it? It's like it sort of democratizes the creation of app creation. Let's say. I think you're right. Um, that
But trust and credibility cannot be copied that easily,
yeah,
right? Your sense that this company will stand by me when difficult times come, that cannot be copied, right? So I've and in one-on-one conversation like this, you can build trust. But I
yeah,
think we will start to see more scalable trust building, uh, and that will become the primary differentiator for go-to-market.
completely. Yeah. So brand is the trust part of brand is super important, and authenticity and having genuine relationships. Um, so tell me what you see the business opportunity for a platform is now. I know you're doing some interesting things at Zeer. Tell me a little bit about what the vision is for a more authentic go to market.
So I was reading somewhere recently that in the last 3 years, surveyed Winning by Design in Europe surveyed 50 SaaS companies, public SaaS companies, largest, and they found that the CAC rose by about 60% in the last 3 years. Oh, now let's extrapolate that, and I'll answer your question more directly.
Mhm.
So with AI and more competitor new entrants coming in the market, CAC is going to rise, right? And what's happening on SEO? We'll talk more about that is going to make CAC rise because the inventories are dropping, right? The ad inventories. So endpoint solutions. Um, so if you go 15 years ago, best of breed was the way to build a SaaS company, right? When buyers were buying the best of this and best of that and best of that and put it all together and integrate using Zapier and other tools. Now, if the CAC becomes unsustainable for endpoint solution, where the CAC is so high that they can't afford, given the cost of the software, right?
Yep.
So I feel like the high CAC will ensure that all softwares are just platforms. So once your customer is in, it can you can support all different workflows, not just one endpoint,
Mm.
right? So I foresee every software becoming a platform. Either they build a platform of their own or they join a platform. I also think like someone like Salesforce can build end-to-end platforms, but small companies cannot. But I
Yep.
do think one of the biggest opportunities that's going to come in the next 12, 18 months is there'll be rise of multiple industry stacks where these companies are going to cooperate and compete at the same time, and they'll build industry stacks out of box. So they'll be
Mm.
priced together, they'll be pre-integrated, so you can go just hook it up as if you are working with SAP or Rippling or some of those platforms that are compound or but with different companies. uh, Without that, they won't be able to sustain the high cost of CAC.
Yeah. So the platform ecosystem becomes the channel.
Right. That's a great way to put it.
Yeah, yeah,
That's a
yeah.
great
So
way.
do you see any industries where that um, or can you give me some examples of where you think that might play first? You mentioned rippling, which I think is a really interesting example of how you could plug into that ecosystem. Can you think of any others that are top of mind for you?
I think the general platforms like say marketing or sales, those are more broad.
Yeah.
Also, they have more budgets. I would think verticals or smaller platforms where they have less budgets could even be a good place to start
Yeah.
to take over because then the CAC really makes a difference. Um, Also, platforms that are verticals or segments that have, say, premium players, um, those would be good ones for smaller players to take off because if there's a premium player, they're charging more, but they also have more features with that others cannot replicate. But together, 5 companies can replicate what, say, SAP is doing for manufacturing or some. vertical. So now for the
Interesting.
first time, I think there'll be like real competition against these premium players.
Yeah, and the whole key to all this is the composability between the different platforms, the ease of integration with other systems.
Right.
Um, and you know what will really activate that is, and I have a lot of fun playing around with MCP now. It's so
Right.
fun to. It's not the easiest thing because if you're connecting it with something that doesn't have
Right.
a really easy integration with like Claude or something, but it's not that hard. But once that clicks in your brain that you can use
That's game changing.
MCP to have an LLM dig into something else.
Right.
And I just posted the other day about this GitHub that had 3,000 MCP connections to it. But
Wow.
psychologically, once that clicks into the general public or the general business person, I think what you're saying is right. It could this connection to everything could
Right.
really begin to take off.
Yep. Yeah. And that is going to disrupt because if either you are part of a platform or you're out, because
Mm.
then it becomes now there will be limited slots in these platforms, right? And if buyers are saying, look, it's cheaper for me to just work with a single platform because the CAC gets subsidized for everybody else, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, the endpoint solution, they have to keep spending money into acquiring customers. So, yeah, you're either in or you're out of business. It's going to
Yeah.
be amazing.
Yeah, that's incredible. So what's the next step from this thesis? Like where does it go from here as a as
Yeah,
a as a product owner or a marketer?
I think every endpoint SaaS company need to think like every SaaS marketers need to consider, can they turn their product into a platform or can they go after adjacent workflows easily? Now, cost
Yeah.
of development has gone down, so maybe they can, right?
Yeah.
That way they can charge more or give more value to their customer for the same price. The real battleground is going to be once you have a customer, how do we retain that customer? Because the new acquisition will just either be too expensive or start to dry up because everybody will be holding on to the customers they have, right?
Yeah.
Um, and if you're a large company and you enjoyed brand premiums, and that I think premium will kind of there'll be downward pricing pressure. So
Yeah.
I think there will be issues with enjoying those premium. That also has an impact on venture capital because VCs invested hoping that there'll always be this winner take all model where excess capital will turn some of these companies into enjoying these brand premiums and charging far more than their competitors can. I think with AI and lower cost of development, those premiums are going to start to give way to smaller companies or start to get distributed.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I know you posted a lot on different pricing models and the you know sort of more credit based or results based pricing models. I think it's going to put incredible pressure on the HubSpots and the Salesforces of the world, the big enterprise platforms. It's just even as a buyer, as a business owner, it's really hard to swallow some of those bigger fees now that I see the other pricing models. If I can pay for usage or credits, it's so much easier than paying per seat. It just doesn't work for me as well
Right,
as it has.
right.
As
Yeah,
well
in some
as
ways, those are market inefficiencies, right?
Yeah.
In fact, marketing is the science of exploiting market inefficiencies to your favor, right?
Yeah,
Um,
right.
and now we are getting more efficient, and the companies that were benefiting from it are going to give way.
Yeah. Okay, I want to go back to the channel thing that you brought up earlier. Search is difficult because of AIOs. Paid is tricky. Although I have a perspective that I think paid search is maybe a bit more important now because you can't get in the top, you can't get past the AIOs. So spending some on paid search actually is not a bad idea if you're trying to get your brand noticed.
Right,
But ads are tough. Email is almost impossible.
right. Phone is impossible.
I mean, it's
Even
really,
LinkedIn email is getting ranked.
I have an agent now that goes through my email. I don't know why Gmail doesn't do this, but it basically goes through my email and pulls it. It's through Relay app, pulls out what it thinks are cold emails, identifies them, builds a nice reply to them, puts them in my draft folder, and I just scan them every day, and I just hit like send, like just ding, ding, ding. Yeah, I don't even have to look at them
Amazing.
anymore. Yeah, it's
Amazing.
pretty incredible.
What you just did with email, what you just described,
Mhm.
I think is the core or the crux of the future of go to market. It's really important to understand what you just did, because you were looking at emails yourself, and now the agent looks at it first, decides for whatever reason,
Yes.
and then you look at right, the remaining emails. Now apply that model, exact same model, to search. We were looking at search results. Now we are not going to be looking at search results. Some agent will look at it and give
Yeah.
us only the top or top two, and right, apply that to sales calls,
Browsers could
or
be
yeah, browsers, or like buyers are not going to talk to so many sales calls. They'll only talk to the top two, right?
yeah,
And that's just going to be the norm. So those comprehensively, like going through every candidate in the those days are gone, and there'll be a lot of agent to agent communication. Now
yeah,
the race will shift to, how do I impress the agent? So if I am sending email to your inbox, I should be thinking, what should I write so your filters or your agent will escalate it to you?
completely,
I think that
100%,
will be the new market.
100%. And same thing with your website. Like, do websites become really just agent tools, like the agent to agent?
Yeah.
So that's super interesting. Did you see? I just saw this morning that Apple's new beta has a browser function. So if you're looking at your phone, you can hit, I think it must be in Safari. So you hit the button in Safari and you can click on any part of the screen that's a distraction, and it will remove those containers from the browser. So
Wow.
if you're reading an article like in,
Right.
Wired or something, or, sometimes you want to read an article and there are a ton of different ads that show up.
Right. You can just
Well, you
like
can just
slide
like, you
away.
literally just hit this button and then you just start clicking off the ads and it makes them just a poof, and they disappear. They just
There you
completely
go.
disappear.
CAC just went up a little bit. Somebody spent money to reach out to you, and
So can
yeah.
you imagine? Yeah, and I don't know, maybe the click action is actually a click. So you're spending the money as a brand, but the your ad is disappearing.
Okay.
There's no
Right.
reason that that can't happen with an agent instead of a person having to like put their finger on their phone. So it's just a matter of time before that stuff is tricky. And there really is no system right now to scale uh authenticity, so authentic brands. It's tough because I do the podcast because I'm super interested in it, but and I learn from all these great people. But it's also we as a brand need to be out there talking about this stuff because we're a tech marketing
Right.
organization, so we need to be at the forefront of these discussions. But it's not easy. There's no.
No,
It's
it's
very
not easy at
manual.
all. It's the toughest problem of the next decade. I can
Yeah,
tell you how we are trying to do that
yeah,
with Zeer. I can't say we have completely cracked the code, but yeah, that is. I'm sure there'll be multiple initiatives to do it right.
yeah. Things that we don't even expect to see yet, and then and then it'll get all spammed out. So what will be after on authenticity? Who knows what that will be? But yeah, I would like for you to talk about like what you see the opportunity to scale, or it sounds terrible to scale, authentic relationships because you don't really want to do that because they're authentic and real. But how do you keep it real and do it in a way that allows you to at least scale, multiply
Yeah,
yourself in some way?
yeah. I think a big part of that is to just acknowledge what's going on and not fight it. Ride the wave, right? And then the other is, so for instance, this noise is just going to stay, right? And this sales led marketing, where sellers raised the hand and said, look, my ICP has 10,000 people. I'm just going to go round robin on all 10,000 or a bulk of them and see who's in market to buy, right? That just generated a lot of revenue for every vendor in that platform, every channel. So everyone recommended that approach, but then it generated a lot of noise and a lot of mistrust. And it basically wrecked those channels in the long run, right? Um, I think about the buyers. They just want to buy something, and it's difficult to buy. They're not even paid or recognized for what they're doing, right? So companies, you're talking about how to get how to build trust at scale. One way to build trust, if I'm a vendor, um, even enterprise, larger vendor, um, and I recognize that buying is difficult in my space, I would create a website. I would create buying tool. This is exactly what we are enabling at Zeer. Um, that will help my buyers buy better. So it reduces all the hurdles and friction, and that generates trust and credibility in ways that otherwise you can't. That's one way. The second way, if buyers can be encouraged to share their problems every day, and the problems could range from, like, I have churn, I need to hire a controller, I need to do a campaign, I need playbooks and best practice for getting some lead gen, or so. Buyers are constantly having these problems every day in business, in the course of business. If they could come to a site and like ask for those problems, and then agencies and vendors could respond just to those problems, right? Not start pitching and saying, hey, I have this tool, I think you should buy, and here are the 5 features my tool does, which is how they do today, right? um, and if that can be done in a targeted manner at scale through agents, agents are actually going to get pretty sophisticated. Agents won't be like just chat GPT giving you generic answers. Agents will get, it will become an extension. It'll begin to, if I have an agent, um, over time, if there's a mathematical certainty that it starts to sound like me. Now, in the beginning, it's clunky and it doesn't sound like me and it's reactive. But it's just like learning. If it has all the content, it learns pretty quickly, and it starts to. So we could respond in a very targeted manner to buyer pain and buyer needs on demand in real time within the context at scale. And now think about the buyer's mindset. If they're getting answers and responses from the same brand or same agency again and again, they like to work with those agency, maybe prioritize and just go to the agency next time, right? And so this is how business is going to be done, where the agents create credibility in the beginning, and these agents don't get annoyed if a seller agent asks the buyer agent 10 times a day, is there any demand for me today? But buyers get annoyed, like, stop chasing me. But agents are just API calls. So in our platform, agents are asking each other all like 10 times a day if needed. Uh, and that's fair game, right? And as soon as there's a demand, as soon as there's a question, as soon as there's a problem, as long as they're in the right ICP, these agents figure it out and then start helping each other.
Yeah, so the agents can filter out the noise between agents and serve up the stuff that's valuable for the buyer, right?
Yeah. So one more point there, since you mentioned the noise part, the biggest problem in marketing and sales today is we have created too many jobs and chores for ourselves, a lot of which are not useful, right? Salespeople are sitting on calls. If you look at their calendar, like, a lot of the calls don't yield into revenue. But then there's no way to get around. You have to do like 40 calls a week to find those 4 that are valuable. But you don't know which 4, otherwise, you could have done just 4, right? So when agents do those 40 calls between other agents, the sellers just have more time, right? And they can focus and they can do something more valuable with their time. Plus, I don't think we'll need this large teams. We'll probably undergo, uh, you know, uh, higher quota per rep. But also, I think there's going to be the way agencies work will change. I think a lot more budget will shift to agencies than before. But yeah, this is a massive time of change and transition. Uh, a lot of the noise that we created in the last 2 decades, agents will cut through that noise.
You know what's super interesting about what you're saying is if I'm going to ask a question and I want to go to a community, I'm probably going to go to G2 or I'm going to go to Reddit or somewhere. I'm going to look through a Reddit thread. I'm going to ask that question. I'm probably going to start in Google or something, or maybe ChatGPT. So I'm going to the community in that way. But I don't do this proactively, but if I'm following a brand on LinkedIn and they have good content, I will interact with that content. So my brand affinity is happening on the LinkedIn side, let's say, it's because it's through content and stuff. And it's a lot of it's happening through personalities with that content. And then the part of me that wants to buy something or ask a question about how to solve something is going to the community sites. There's no bridge between those two things. And if a
Right.
brand shows up in the Reddit side, I'm gonna be like, I'm probably not interested.
Right.
And LinkedIn really isn't the place to ask. You can, but it's kind of an odd place to ask a question. Just doesn't have the form for that. So it's a super interesting concept of something that links that same, I guess, need together for
You're spot on. Um, when you ask a question on Google, you're really engaging with content that somebody posted some other time that was not designed to answer your question.
yeah,
You're trying to barely match to like a demand and a supply that were not made for each other, right?
yeah.
But agents change that. With agents, when you ask a question, like in our platform, it will go first do AI research, and then it will go to brands that it thinks should be able to answer these questions. It will position it as a lead to say a vendor or an agency and say, hey, do you think this is relevant? Because there's $100 million company, there's a VP marketing of this company that is having this problem. Are you interested in writing a note, right? So the good thing about agents is humans just have to respond to questions like one time. There's like a long tail of Q&As that was missing in search. Search
Yes.
was built for the dominant use case, right? The same question that were asked, the top 20% of the use case, where search handled very well because it was doing keyword match. But there were this long 80% of long tail that were not handled, which I think agents and with support of humans, because these will turn into real leads, could handle.
And AI mode in Google doesn't quite get there because it's using
The same 20% content.
yeah, the sort of regurgitated content. Yeah.
Yeah. If Google could add a feature that if somebody asked a question, at that time they could go to the content author that they thought was the best
Yeah.
expert in those content and say, hey, there's a question that your content doesn't really answer, but I think you have the answer because I see what you wrote, and can you please give me a new answer, right? And
Yeah.
if there was incentive for this author and they could give that answer, then Google could do this, right? But then the use case of Google is instant, real time. In our case, if it's lead gen and business problem, it doesn't have to be real time. It could be like 1 or 2 days or a week later if you get some churn playbook from some VP marketing of Zendesk or somebody credible. Um, like you would probably, it's still as valuable, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. And that's after it's vetted after the agents have talked to each other and got out
Right,
what they needed to
right,
talk to.
exactly.
Yeah, it's like you have a character AI sort of scenario where you can talk to I can talk to one of my kids' characters that they like. But then that's vetted, that's being vetted between the agents, but then I can actually talk to the character. Like I can actually reach out and and there's something in it for both parties. I get the answer, but the character gets they get incented somehow. The opportunity, let's say, is the incentive. Super. Does that mean there's a massive amount of training that needs to go on the brand side or the agency side to be able to have these conversations in a platform with these agents? How do you get the data to make sure the conversations are
Right.
relevant?
So in the beginning, we thought there would be massive training required, but now we are realizing it's actually much simpler. So we could start with whatever data is out there and train based on public data. But then if a brand signs up on a platform and says, hey, this is what I do, say it's an agency or a vendor, and they have a software that solves churn and retention. So they set it up. Now, anytime there's a conversation, a question around those topics, we put it in the demand tab for there and said, look, you told us you are interested in these topics. We think this is early stage, but these are the questions that came up in the last 24 hours that agents have already answered. And we share with them what conversation stage we are in. By the way, this is going to be important for Google as well. I think the value will shift from just keyword match to what stage of the conversation are you in? Are you just like very high level, or this buyer is serious buyer and they're like going back and forth? We think they have to make a purchase, or their problem is serious, and we can tell based on the queries and repetitive how long they've been working on the same problem and so on. So we share, and then the vendor chooses to. So to your question, here is how the training happens. The agents will respond to these questions, and the response will say it's AI generated. But either the buyer kicks back or challenges the response, or the agent themselves know this was not a high score or high confidence response. So then the response gets escalated to a human on the brand side.
Yeah.
It could be a seller. And then when the human responds, the agent learns for the future questions, right? So we find that this one-time response, in the first 4 weeks, 6 weeks, this seller would be seeing, say, 10 questions a day, right? But 2 weeks later, there'll only be 6 questions a day. 4 weeks later, there'll be 4, or 6, 8 weeks, there's like 1 question a day or no question. Because so there's a learning happens where upfront there's a lot of missing sort of concepts, and then it's better to train based on what people are asking, because the questions itself changes over time with rather than pre-train somehow and expect it'll all work perfectly. So we believe the human curation aspect is a key part of agents functioning, which I guess Google Answers or others are not really thinking about it this way.
No, because you have now you have a two-way conversation that can train the agent on the next conversation that's similar. It's super interesting. It's very interesting. Where are you at with just your product? Like, what's the launch been like? Like, what's the status? Haven't got an
Yeah.
update from
So
you in a while on things.
what we are building is when people sign up to our platform, everybody gets an agent of their own. And then they can come to our platform and write about whatever challenges they have. If you're a sales rep, you say, I want leads. If you're a buyer, you could say, hey, I need to change my CRM vendor. Just give me some options. And if you are just a CS rep, maybe you talk about churn, right? So everybody's got some problem that is top of mind. They share that. And then we have this AI research that we do. And then we bring experts and peers that are having the same problem, or experts in those problems. Our agents go out and proactively keep thinking about this problem throughout the week.
Hmm.
So it's not a one-time search like Google does. This is like continuous search. And as soon as the agent finds some interesting information, it pipes it in your Slack, right? So this is going on. And meanwhile, there are seller agents and buyer agents, because eventually we want this to turn to leads and sellers to engage with content. So what we have done is we have built just the seller agent, and we want some sellers to start adopting standalone. It'll take us maybe another 3 months to build this whole research platform. But once it does, the seller agent and the buyer agent bolt on to this platform. We also have built a buyer agent where buyers can send out the agent, and then this agent goes to sellers and says, pitch to me. I'm working on behalf of Santosh. So instead of bothering Santosh with your pitch, Santosh is in market to buy a CRM. Um, you can just pay, and then it comes back to me with a grade saying, I spoke to 10 CRM vendors, but these are the 2 you should really care about because they match, their responses were best scored against the 5 qualifying question you gave me.
Amazing. Wow. And the thing that really gets me is, unlike search, when you have a question, they're always working to answer
They're
the
always
question.
on.
They're always analyzing,
Yeah, they're
looking
always
for the
going
next
to LinkedIn, Google,
talking. Yeah.
searching, and also as the capabilities increase, they'll be scheduling calls and showing up on calls on behalf of me.
Crazy. I mean, that is just that is a whole new dynamic. And I can't help thinking about it in a combination of like where I go to get information, Google and LinkedIn, where I go, and Reddit and G2 and other places. It's really a unique connection for a buyer, like somebody who's buying me, a small business owner, let's say, seeking some sort of answer to something. It's really, because there's a lot of utility. Your agent has a lot of utility for me because I could go have it work on my behalf and find the answer. And I don't have to go through a bunch of Reddit threads or
Right,
search
right.
Google. It's amazing.
Yeah, right now those agents are just like search engine, or they're just returning information to your questions.
Yeah.
But we are already seeing the advent of agent, and we certainly have on our roadmap where I could give it tasks to like execute and come back to me after like a few days or week, or it doesn't have to be done right now at this instant. And that's where
Amazing.
it gets really powerful.
Man, Santa, just like well, we could go on forever because I remember the old days when we would go on forever.
Right.
Yeah, I know we both. You have limited time. I know this is somehow linked at some point on another podcast. You and I are going to talk about your um, ability to. This sounds like something that's sort of genuine in you because on LinkedIn, you're answering questions. You're giving a lot of value. Like you're a brand of your own on LinkedIn. I can see how the kernel of some of what you're doing there um, actually has affected this. That was part of the product idea, but I don't think we're going to have time to get to that, but we'll do it at some point in the future. I definitely wanted to get to my AI roulette question. So this is a question I do
Yes,
with
sir.
everyone. And I load your profile into Perplexity and I hit a button and then Perplexity gives me a question. And I've instructed Perplexity to be kind of sassy and, maybe
Okay.
controversial in some way. So let me go ahead and do this. I just literally just put in I'm now interviewing Santosh. Here you go. Okay, here's your question. It's a little bit long. Santosh, given your deep experience with both data-driven sales and now AI agents, let's play with a unique scenario. It's 2030 and 80% of B2B buyer interactions are handled by AI agents, but research finds that most buyers can now spot AI speak. The sanitized, overly polite, jargon-filled responses. In fact, a group of meme marketers, M-E-M-E, meme marketers, armed with humor and human quirks, begin outperforming even the most advanced AI-driven campaigns because buyers crave authenticity and a good laugh. So here's the roulette question. If AI drives efficiency, but meme marketers drive trust and engagement, which side would you bet on to win over the next generation of B2B buyers? That's just
So
silly.
no,
Would the
these
memes
are.
win? Does meme win, or I don't know what it's asking?
Yeah. No, I think there's a profound lesson in here. I'm amazed by how it came. So eventually, differentiation wins. So what it's saying is, look, authenticity and scale and trust can be scaled through AI. Let's say in next 5 years, and then through memes, which is silly. You can tell which creatives are done by humans or which I think the memes will win hands down, and there's a constant battle for humans to seek trust and credibility, even if it comes by. I mean, that's kind of um, even if it comes through like some gimmicks.
I agree. I was kind of thinking too the memes would win. That meme marketing could become a whole thing. It already is a thing, but maybe it's the thing that takes down the AI stuff.
Yeah, there's going to be AI noise after like
You
2030.
know
There'll
what?
be,
It's
yeah,
really weird too to see all the AI video stuff because a lot of the AI video stuff that's on Vimeo or Kling or whatever
yeah.
is kind of torching the AI space. So it's using AI to say this is ridiculous. Why is this happening? It's just funny to see. Well, it's super. It's so great to talk to you. I don't get to talk to you enough, so I had to build a podcast so you could get on get on a call together. But
I love our conversations, Kevin. Let's do it
yeah,
again.
definitely. How does I know you're active on LinkedIn, so I'll put your LinkedIn profile in the show notes. But how do people learn more about Zeer?
So we are intentionally kind of keeping it under wraps. One of the things I learned while at RB2B is the benefit of work in public, but also the counterintuitive reasons not to do some of that because we created like 20 other competitors in the process. So, and then building these tools are so easy these days. And what we are building is complex in idea, but it's taking time just because we have less resource. So the best way to learn about what Zeer is doing is reach out to me. I love talking, I love sharing, and I'll more often than not, I'll love to share what I'm doing and get your perspective. I don't think I'll be mentioning it on a website just yet. Uh, if we do, we'll just talk about the sales agent, what we are launching. But I'm more excited about the overall vision.
Sounds great. Yeah, and I can say that you're super active on LinkedIn and you're always willing to share perspective and comment and stuff. You're just a great friend and thought leader to have out there. You're in part you're my AI thought partner, Santosh. I still need Claude and ChatGPT. You're not that good, but you are pretty good. All right.
Great.
Thank you so much, Santosh.
Bye.
We'll talk soon.
Cheers.
Cheers.